Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Fantastic to have everyone in the session today. We're looking forward to sharing some ideas. Sorry, just been testing some sound and chats, and oh my goodness me. I think they've tried to pull a fast one on me and change the outline of how it all works in the chat section of Teams. Anyway, please, a big welcome to everyone. Please, can you type into chat? Let us know where you're based, what sort of work you do. If you've been using ChatGPT, that will be fantastic. Or in fact, Copilot, any of the AI platforms, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know how you're progressing with anything, and we'd be really happy to hear from you. We're waiting for a few more people to join the session. We've in fact had such a huge response from everyone, which is quite exciting, and very keen to hear how you experience the various forms of generative AI and how you've been able to use it in your own work as well. We've got some ideas to share with you, and we're very keen to do that, but we'd love to hear from you as well. Please let us know where you're based, type into chat. Give us some indication as to your usage of any of the AI platforms, just so that we know if we've got a lot of newbies in the room or if we've got people that have really experienced and can share some tips as well. Welcome, Kim. Fabulous to have you join us. You've just started. Okay. We love to have you, and thank you for that. You'll be able to see Ben in the chat as well. And he's definitely, I think, more like me, a real pioneer in the field, getting out there and trying to use it as best we can. Ben will be helping us a little bit later when we really get into using it live. So we're going to have no idea what's going to happen when we go live. But anyway, we'll all experiment together. Very big welcome to people joining us as well. I see from Sydney, just started. Okay, we've got a few novices here, which is fantastic. So great to have you all, and welcome Daphne as well. We are very excited to share some ideas with you. We do not pretend at all to be experts in the field, but I'd say that we are, certainly I have to confess, a big user of different forms and different platforms. So we're really keen to share some of these ideas with you. Just to let you know that we are going to be recording the session. We've had, I think there've been over 300 people who registered, but as you know, not all are able to attend. And we'll record for them and for everybody on the call. We will share the slides. And afterwards, you're very welcome to use any part of them. You're also very welcome as we're going along to take screenshots or to share any part of it with your camera phone, anything that you'd like to use. That's also great. And I'm seeing in the chat, definitely, and sorry that I'm keeping my eye on a little bit on my phone as well, that we've got some really good users here. I've been ChatGPTs and Perplexity, which I've never used. So, Jonathan, I'd really be keen to hear about you doing that. We have to, in this particular session, you'll notice that we are using Copilot because APM has decided that that's the way that we're going. But I see some of you are, in fact, using Copilot as well, and you might have had the same direction from your own organization. So we'll be starting in the next minute or so. Please keep the chat going. Love to hear from you. Would love to see what some of you are thinking, how you're using the various platforms, what you think of the various platforms. I see Kate there said I should do chat and Gemini and the whole works, which is just fantastic. And I see quite a few people using Perplexity. So I'd be very keen to hear about your experiences with that. So let's get started. And again, a very huge welcome to everyone. We really appreciate that you're giving up some of your time to join in the session. Keep the chat going. If I don't see your chat immediately, please just repeat it for me. I'm Denise Meyerson from MCI. I'm the founder of MCI. I've been in learning and development for, over 35 years. I know I still look 21, but it's always great to share ideas with so many different professionals. And it sounds like not just within Australia, it looks like we've got a few joining from far afield. So just to quickly say that MCI acknowledges that the lands and waters of the country we meet on today have been in the care of traditional custodians for thousands of years. We pay respect to the elders of local people, past and present, and to emerging leaders. MCI acknowledges and extends respect to people from all the cultures and diverse identities who walk on this country. So I'm going to begin by asking everyone a question. I'm going to show you 3 images, and I'm going to ask you, of the 3, I will reverse back again just so you can have a sort of review and decide whether your answer is correct. I'm going to ask you which one or ones of these images has been generated by AI. So there's image number 1 on the screen. There is image number 2, and there is image number 3. So I'll go back again. There's 3, there's 2, and there's 1. So if you'd like to type into chat and tell me which ones have been generated. Oh, this audience is certainly on the ball. It's really interesting, and you are in fact correct, because all 3 of them have been generated by AI. But what is interesting to me is that when I asked this question about, I'd say 6 months ago, people gave me one, they said number 1 only, the others are real. So at that point, people could not identify which ones were in fact generated by AI. But obviously in the last 6 months, we've all smartened up a lot. And we've realized that, yes, this huge, massive gigatrend that's impacting the world, this gigatrend of artificial intelligence, is becoming part of what we do and how we behave and how we interact and how we, as learning and development professionals, in fact, engage very differently with our learners, with our users, and with our course materials and design. And so that is really what I want to explore today, is taking a little bit of a deeper dive. Yes, we have become more aware that we can't just look at an image any longer and not question whether this is genuine or whether it's generated by AI. But in order to get us using AI, and I see so many people here have a whole range of different uses of AI. Some are at the beginning of their journey. Some are trying out 4 or 5 platforms. So there's quite a spectrum there. But at this point, when it comes to L&D, to me, the best use of our capacity and trying to make the most of this generative AI is using good prompts. And that's where we wanted to focus today. We wanted to have a look at a process for creating better prompts. Later in the session, we're going to go live. As I say, we can only go into Copilot. So we don't know what's going to emerge, and we're just going to have to play it by ear, but we're going to try out our method for creating these better prompts. I do believe, and some of you might agree with me, you could type into chat, And eventually the AI is going to be so good that it will intuitively help us with the prompts. And, maybe this exercise in a further 6 months' time will not be as necessary as it is today. But what I can say generally from my experience and from reading, and I will give you the person who we generally follow when it comes to AI and prompting, is that your prompting just has to be good enough. Yes, there are details that you have to include, and yes, there are examples you need to give of what you want. You do need to train the AI. You want them to speak in your tone of voice so that it comes across authentically. You also have to give them some input around style. Otherwise, it could come out very stilted and you think, oh, I would never write or say that. And that's the last thing we want. And we might, in fact, have to give AI more examples and more feedback and more input so that it regenerates, some of the responses for us. But we also have to accept that there is the human factor. And I'd say 20%, some of you in chat might disagree with me, that sometimes it nails it and we don't have to edit anything. I don't know if anyone's had that experience yet. And some of you might be saying, listen, I've got to edit even 50% of it. If you just want to type into chat for the ones who are, already on this journey, what sort of percentage they feel that the human factor comes into it. But we do have to remember, and this is still my favorite story for so many of you who might have listened to previous webinars, when AI first came out and ChatGPT first emerged, a friend of mine who has a jewelry store, and she said, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to ask it to write a description about a tennis bracelet. So for those of you who don't know what a tennis bracelet is, it's a bracelet that has little diamonds in it. I think it was made famous by Chris Evert, one of the tennis players. And all she typed into chat was, make me a description of a tennis bracelet. Well, what do you think chat was going to do? I mean, it didn't know what's a tennis bracelet. It did a description of a bracelet at a tennis court. Obviously, that is not exactly what she wanted. And she, it's useless. It doesn't know what I want. But in the end, we've sort of brought her around a little bit. And thank you so much to everyone who's putting in the chat there about the percentages. I do agree with you. And for those who are experienced as well, I'd also like to hear what you feel about how polite you should be to chat, or to any of, in fact, I always say chat, but it should be any of the AI platforms, because I think that chat can get a little lazy. I see this, and apparently it does happen during holiday periods where chat sort of kicks back as well as the humans. And, some of you are typing into chat as well that, sometimes it's just not reading the question, it's not understanding you, it's not taking in the input that you're giving it. And I am generally polite until the platform just pushes me a little bit too far. And then I'm like, no. You are being lazy and you need to work a little bit more. So maybe we need to think about chat as our new co-worker. It does forget a lot and whose abilities are not totally clear. And I think that's a way of sort of framing it and positioning it in our mind so we don't become too frustrated and we are able to give these better prompts. So some prompt engineers, I don't know if any of you, in fact, know anyone who's in a role as a prompt engineer, but I understand that they earn hundreds of thousands of dollars. But anyway, we are going to become a prompt engineer for learning and development. And yes, we will try and be diplomatic and have our good manners as well. So this is the person who I mentioned earlier, who I highly recommend, and we will send this link out to you, that you should be following, because he kind of speaks in a more down-to-earth way and a little bit more practical. And that's Professor Ethan Mollick, and he's a professor of management at Wharton Business School. But he doesn't write like a professor, he writes a lot more practically. And I like what he's saying because he's able to try out so many of the platforms. He's got all his research assistants helping him as well. And so that gives him quite a deep insight into how these things are going. And I would suggest that you sign up to him. I have no affiliation with him, but he's the guy that we follow. So according to good old Ethan Mollick, what he's saying is always start off by giving the platform, whichever one you're using, and I see some are using Perplexity and various others. I don't know if anyone mentioned Claude, but whatever platform it is, you do need to give more information about your learner persona. Now, this is something that we as learning and development professionals know that we should be doing, but I don't know if we always pause and just look again at who is the end user here. What's their demographic? Where do they fit into the organization? What do they know? What do they do? What do they have as their foundation? Where are the gaps? And I do feel that warrants a little bit of extra attention as we train up one of the platforms to know more about who we're doing this for. And there's no harm to me in doing that, because that surely should be part of the design process. And more than that, just sort of knowing broadly about them, we want to know a little bit, can we stand in their shoes? Do we have an idea for them or a sense of what they experience, what they can do, what they can perform, what they know, where they stand? Even just thinking, we say, we need another e-learning module, but who is the end user? Do they have access to their own email? Do they have access to a laptop? Is this being done on a phone? I think it's worth just generally pausing and asking those questions, which in any event would be good practice. The second thing that I would say that we would need to just spend a bit more time for our sort of sometimes lazy, sometimes very good assistant who, we don't know how the assistant's going to show up for work that day, is give more information and a little bit more of a spotlight on what we want people to achieve by the end of the session. What must they know? What must they do? And, sometimes it's easy just to type a few little bullet points about that. But I think it is worth just, again, pressing the pause button, exploring that in a little bit more detail, so that we can give the appropriate information into the platform that we're using. Then obviously, and believe me, it sounds like a simple step, but I sometimes forget to do this because you assume that the ChatGPT or any of the platforms will know this, but they won't know that. So you've got to be very specific about the format. Is it an e-learning? Is it an in-person? You might even want to attach, and what is fabulous is using that ability to attach things to show this has been a very successful program in the past. This is the tone of voice. This is the way in which I like the content to be presented, so that you are teaching this assistant all the time in terms of what to do and the type of outcome and the output that you want to achieve. Obviously, there's also, and I've just put a little hot tip in here, is that you might also need to just focus a little bit on, what you want. Because you might say, I need to know about communication skills. Do me a course on communication skills. That's taking us back to the good old tennis bracelet. So we've got to put those constraints and narrow things down a little bit and set the limitations, or it's back to that garbage in, garbage out, and we don't want that. We've also got, as I said, the ability now to attach things. And, without these kinds of detailed sort of instructions, yes, the chat might be really on its game that day and just be spitting out, just exactly what we want, kind of reading our mind. But sometimes it doesn't. And that's why, to me, if we can attach things, if we can give these detailed instructions, make it really real for the platform, we're going to give it a better opportunity to spit out on the other end exactly what we want. When you give these types of instructions, what Ethan Mollick, and this is Ethan Mollick, he refers to the chain of thought. So giving step-by-step prompts. So saying very clearly to chat or whoever it is, I'm saying whoever it is like it's a person, first do this, then do that, then this, finally that. So it's setting it out more as a step-by-step process, which helps the AI understand you. My personal experience, and again, and thank you for the comments in the chat, you might find that you don't want to overwhelm the chat, in terms of what is required. But I generally find that it does need to be a little bit more detailed. And then you're obviously going to need to refine it, whether it's 20%, 50%, whatever the percentage is, you've got to go back to it and start saying, look, your tone wasn't 100% correct. I see generally people here are very polite, so they're giving it in a polite way, but you've got to give the feedback. You've got to give the praise, great job, well done, as you would to your new assistant that is coming to work for you. And, give the indication, even if it's just the thumbs up, that yes, this did meet the requirements that you had set out. I mean, you can definitely give the platform, some form of room, so that some kind of allowance to be a little bit more creative. So you can say, you can introduce, some extra scenarios that might enhance things. So you can give that type of instruction if you want it to, come out with some novel ideas as well. And that is certainly possible. So one other tip is, just to remember that this is a generative AI. It is iterative, and it does improve as you iterate, and you might have to give it many goes. The first attempt might be too generic. So then add in more specifics. That we can't always expect it to spit out exactly what we want, except that it is your new type of assistant learning the ropes, and you will be less frustrated. And I should tell myself that tip, because I should listen to my own advice. And then the human takes over, because once you've been through all these steps, it is now time for the human part of this to take over, make the adjustments, add in corporate stories, anything that needs to be realigned. It's now going to be certainly where the human being takes over and makes it sound authentic. Because look how quickly at the beginning you all picked up that all 3 images were AI generated. People in the world are starting to very quickly learn what is AI generated and what is genuine. So at this point, I'm going to be handing over to the fabulous Ben. And as I said earlier, we do have to use Copilot for better or worse. And we are going to go live into the platform. And as I say, we have no idea what's going to emerge. I have really no clue. And thank you as well for somebody who points out Americanized spelling might be a good indicator. But we don't know what's going to happen, as I'm going to stop sharing. And somebody was asking, at the end, I will go back through all the steps, and we will send you a copy of the slides as well. But let's get in live I have to be honest, we have pre-prepared the prompt because we just felt that it would just take too long to type everything. But we will be taking some feedback as we go along. And Ben, if you can share your screen and get us into, is this the prompt that we're using? Okay.
It is, yes.
Okay. Thank you. And we're putting in quite a bit of detail, I think. So Ben, copy and paste it in and let's see what happens. Okay, have we pressed there? And let's watch it go. Go, Ben. Okay, everyone's holding our breath here, including me, because I've got no idea what's going to emerge. Oh, Ben, that didn't give us very much. No? It gave us an outline. All right. Did we just ask for the outline?
We did,
right.
Yeah. Should we ask for some more detail?
Yeah. Could people type into chat the types of questions or prompts that they'd like us to include? For me, I'd like yes. I would definitely like more detailed, a detailed outline. And Ben, I would also like to make sure that it's referring to New South Wales legislation as well. So I think that would be useful for us to see if it comes out with anything better. We're still being quite polite. Yeah, I would actually like a little bit more. And a very good question. Somebody is suggesting we haven't put anything about the length. We've left out one of our own steps and we haven't put in any of the lengths. We haven't put in anything to do with volume of learning. I agree with you on that. I think that needs to be in there. So let's see what else is coming. Yep, I certainly would. If we had a genuine program, somebody suggesting that we would attach that program, and I think that would be a really good idea. I think this, if I remember correctly, this was for online, and I don't know if we gave enough examples. I agree with you. I don't think that there's enough examples there about the audience and the user persona. I agree with you on that. Oh, wow, we've got the experts here helping us generate this. A couple of practical group exercises, correct. It doesn't even say the industry. I agree with you on that. It's not even really talking about, which, is it an industrial environment? Yes. I would certainly be asking if it is a certificate 3 or any kind of qualification. I would definitely be loading the unit of competence up into there. I think that's a specific, a really good one. I'd be asking it for case studies. I don't think Ben can keep up the typing with so many of these fantastic suggestions. Am I giving everyone, though, a good sense of this interplay between the prompt and refining the prompt, giving some starting point and then adding more when we see what's been generated, giving the feedback to our assistant in terms of how we're going to do the assessments. And I don't mind some of this information feeding, or these prompts feeding in slowly, because I definitely have found, for my personal experience, and I don't know for others, that if you overwhelm it and just give it too much, it's also no good. It's the opposite of the tennis bracelet, and I don't think that that's helpful. But boy, have we had some fantastic comments in the chat about the different types of things that you would add in. Thank you, Ben. I'm going to take over again and share my screen. And thank you so much to all the people who've made such incredible contributions there and who have given some great additional prompts to our particular scenario. So please, everyone, keep your eyes in the chat, because some of these prompts that have come in from your colleagues are just superb and, without question, great additions to our step-by-step approach. So, I'm hoping that this is making sense for everyone. And certainly as we come towards the end of the session, I will stay online if people have got any kinds of specific questions or anything that I haven't been able to answer or respond to, because, sorry, the things are coming through so quickly in the chat. But for those of you who said at the beginning that they weren't as familiar with any of the platforms, there's some people here who are just whizzes at it already. But for those of you who aren't, and for those of you possibly who have team members who aren't quite as comfortable with all of this, here's just a few little tips for you. And they say that it takes about 10 hours to get familiar with any one of these platforms. There's also the suggestion that you upgrade and, where possible, use paid versions, because they tend to be faster and a lot more, give a lot better output. We also say, please, at the beginning, definitely, and in fact for everyone, remember, don't ask factual questions. It doesn't give consistent answers. Just use Google. If you need to know what date a certain public holiday is or whatever, don't ask. That's not worthwhile. And be very aware, and I think somebody said, earlier on, that you've got to be very aware of the responses, because it does still hallucinate and it does still give you input that isn't correct. So if you're starting off, obviously do it in a field where you are, more comfortable and more familiar with what the correct answers should be. And also a little bit of advice as well is just remember, please, that it can be biased. I don't want to say anything out of turn, but generally the engineers who are working on this in the background are probably male. And I don't say that it's doing anything unethical, but it might just be extremely biased in some of the responses. And there is where the human has to step in. And be patient, persevere. You saw in our live example, we didn't nail it immediately. I don't think we had enough, as people were saying in the chat, we didn't have enough information. We didn't talk about the personas. We weren't accurate enough, and we hadn't given any examples. We hadn't spoken about the output we want. We didn't talk about assessment. So we had to persevere and we had to improve from that. Obviously, the next step is going to be, if for those of you who are using this a lot and in the same way, is to have your own GPTs. Don't ask me how to make those. I don't know how to make them. But definitely be aware that you can create or get somebody who knows coding and who does know how to do this to customize your AI prompts just for certain tasks that you're going to repeat quite often. And I'm also hoping that, people here aren't just going to use the AI to generate new content. I'm really hoping that you're going to use it in other ways and possibly use it for all kinds of things, such as reporting, analyzing results. If you want to type into chat, other ways that you're using it. And I do see a very important point there as well, is please be aware of your organization's AI policies and don't put stuff into it. A very good point, that you wouldn't put into Google. You wouldn't put your bank details and your personal information into Google. So don't do it here either. But I'd be keen to hear, beyond generating learning programs, what else people are using it for. And thank you, Kathleen, saying, as a neurodivergent person, yes. Gosh, it's you for the first time having an absolute personal assistant. How incredible is that? So please keep typing into chat other ways in which you're using it. I will stay online. I know we have reached the end of our time, but I will stay online and help you. And I see somebody's put in for us as well about another way of generating prompts. So we'd be keen to share all of this information with you. The challenge that I'm throwing out to everyone is, what is a useful thing that's no longer sort of valuable, doing it the way that you have been? And is there something impossible that we can do now that we couldn't do before? Some analysis, some learning programs, something in our field that now makes the chat even more valuable. So please reach out to us at MCI. We're really happy to help you with a whole range of different things in soft skills, supervisory, instructional design. You'll certainly be receiving all our marketing and advertising material. And obviously, if you want to get in contact with us, you'll certainly be able to do that. But I am going to stay online, and sorry and apologies to those of you who I couldn't get to with questions and couldn't respond or give you feedback on some of your comments. But if you do have some particular question, please, I am going to stay here, and please let me know, what I can assist you with. And if there are other questions, all I can see are thank yous. But I'm happy to take some questions as well. Oh, yes, writing code. Oh, my heavens. Who's committed to working out how to do that? Yes. Whoever DG is, please share with us how that goes. We'd be very keen to hear. And what a great way of using AI for something a little bit. Yes, and somebody's using code for IT students. Yes, I love it. Yes, we'd be very keen to hear how some of these experiments are going. So if there aren't other questions, thank you again to everyone for your fantastic input and for all your comments and suggestions as well, and for your great questions. Please, if you need to speak to any of us, please do so, and we'll be really keen to hear from you. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone.